could be. But me, your man, Louie Tee, welcome to the 2018 NFL draft, or excuse me. Hey, we've gotten through 7 of these, man. It's been a long process. Welcome to the divisional breakdowns, preview and predictions series. I'm your man, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me. We've finally hit the last division, that being the AFC West. I'm not very high on this division at all. Really looking forward to seeing if this division can prove me wrong in 2018. But just looking at the schedule, looking at these teams, and then this is one of the more fascinating divisions from the standpoint of you look at every one of these teams in the division, and there's some kind of major change with them, except the Chargers. They're the one team in the division that's kind of being held together as a rock. Chiefs have a new quarterback. So do the Broncos. Raiders have a new coach, or a coach coming back for the second time. And so all of those franchises are going through a transitional period. I think the Chiefs will struggle because of a young quarterback, and they're going to miss Alex Smith. But like I've said on numerous videos in this series, they'll take a step backwards this year, but it'll be for the greater good moving forward. All right, they'll struggle. They won't do what they've done under Alex Smith and win double-digit games and win the division. That won't happen this year, but it'll be sacrificing wins in the here and now and in the present for more wins and potentially something greater in the future with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Meanwhile, with the Broncos, can't get much worse than their quarterback situation was last year with Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch. I think they're looking forward to having an opportunity to turn that page. They really like Case Keenum, and they're really starting to grow in that offense with him at the helm. And they also like the guy behind him in Chad Kelly, a guy that they spent the 7th-round pick on a couple of years ago out of Ole Miss. So they think they've moved forward with their quarterback situation. We'll see what happens there. And then obviously with the Raiders getting Chucky, a.k.a. John Gruden, back as their head man. And for all intents and purposes, he is the face of that franchise. He's the head coach. He's the general manager. He's the president. He's the vice president of order of operations. When you pay a guy that much money over that period of time, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and he gets to do pretty much whatever the hell he wants, and we've seen that already. He's turned the Raiders into the geriatric club, bringing in as many aging veterans as he can find. Leon Hall and Jordy Nelson, and obviously there were some guys already there, but the list goes on and on. Derek Johnson, you've got Marshawn Lynch, you've got another aging running back in Doug Martin. Boy, is that team old, but we'll see what they're able to accomplish. I'm not high on the Raiders and all the moves they've made in this offseason, but we will see. So, before I get to any of the events this evening, I want to thank all of you for joining me on this program. Remember, there are 3 ways to contact the show and have your voice heard. There's the phone line, there's Twitter, and there's the YouTube chat discussion. Phone is supreme. That's going to get you in first, followed by Twitter using the hashtag LabRoomFam, as you see above me, and you hit me up at In the Lab Room on Twitter. That is the Twitter handle. And then, of course, if all else fails, you can just hit me in the YouTube chat discussion. Use the hashtag Louie Tee Live. So let's jump into the AFC West, talk about this division. I already warned you that I don't think this division is very good. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be the worst division in all of football. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be very close. This will be the bottom feeder division in football, and they'll be the division that everyone else points and laughs at, and we'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Either way, let's talk about it and wrap up this series. So let's get to the team that won this division, and has really been the dominant figure in this division over the last few years. The Kansas City Chiefs. Let's take a look at the 2018 schedule of the Chiefs. They start off the season at the Chargers. They swept the Chargers last year, and that was the difference in the division. If you remember, they went to Los Angeles early in the season, won the game, I think it was 17-10 over the Chargers. And then, remember, the Chiefs were in the midst of a mid to late season collapse. They were able to somehow beat the Chargers, right the ship on a Sunday. I believe it was a Saturday night, as a matter of fact. A bunch of turnovers by Philly Rivers in that game, trying to do too much. They were able to beat the Chargers for a second time and end up sweeping that series. And really, they went 5-1 in the division last year, and that was the reason they won the division. And this year, they won't be able to say the same thing. So they're going to go to Los Angeles this year, but they're not going to have the same outcome. I think they're going to, they being the Chargers, going to get pressure on young Patrick Mahomes, flush him out of the pocket, force him to think he's Houdini and want to create something off schedule, and I think he's going to make some mistakes that the Chiefs will be able to pounce on. I can tell you this much. I look at this Chiefs defense, not impressed. I think you can run on them, and one of the points of emphasis this offseason was, let's get stouter up front. Let's be a more physical football team, because the Titans absolutely emasculated us in our own house in the postseason in the second half after we had a 21-3 lead. And it looks like they may have gotten even softer on defense. Now, granted, it's the preseason. All of their guys weren't playing. No Justin Houston, no Eric Berry. All those guys will be back once the regular season starts. So maybe the best is yet to come for this Chiefs defense, but they looked rather soft. I watched the Bears' second team offense take it to the Chiefs, and I'm just not impressed with what I see out on the field for the Chiefs. I don't love their linebackers. I don't think that's a very talented group on that side of the football per se. They've got pieces here and there, but I'm not overly impressed with what the Chiefs are putting on the football field. Even when they get their stuff back in Justin Houston and Eric Berry, I still don't know if I'm going to be overly impressed with their defense. So I said all of that to say they're going to lose the first two games of the season, at the Chargers and at Pittsburgh. That's a tough way to start the season, with two tough road games in the conference. Doesn't get much tougher than that, at Chargers, at Pittsburgh. Maybe at New England would have been a little bit worse, but you get where I'm going with that. They do bounce back week 3, though, win at home versus San Francisco, and then they come back the following week. So 3 out of your first 4 on the road in hostile environments, at Denver on a Monday night. Ouch. That's another loss for the Chiefs. In past years, they've had success against Denver. Home or away hasn't really mattered. That's not going to be the case without a veteran like Alex Smith to control that pass rush and take care of the football. Expect some turnovers from Patrick Mahomes. That's the theme. Young quarterback making mistakes. I expect some growing pains to take place with Patrick Mahomes this season. Another team that can get after the quarterback the following week, at home versus Jacksonville. Don't like those circumstances. And in past years, Arrowhead has been a tough place to go in and win. Every now and again, you'll get a team to go in there, sneak a dub, but for the most part, you could go ahead and pencil in 6-2, 7-1, possibly 8-0 at home for the Chiefs. Just a tough place to go and get a win. That's not going to be the case in 2018 with a young quarterback and a defense that I think could be exposed this season as extremely soft. New England the following week. Oh, my God. Yikes. Another road game against a tough opponent. So, in the first 6 weeks, you've got about as tough a road schedule as anybody in the league. At the Chargers, at the Steelers, at the Broncos, at the Patriots. That's on a Sunday night. And all that is a rematch of last year's Sunday night game or Thursday night game that started off the season, in which you put up 42 on the Patriots and destroyed them in their own home. Again, different cast of characters. Even though I don't think the Patriots are necessarily better as a football team in 2018 than they were in 2017, your team isn't necessarily better than they were a season ago. So I don't like you in that spot either. So hence another loss. The following week, you go home for Cincinnati, another team that can get after the quarterback. This schedule just hasn't let up yet. Even the home games have been tough early on for the Chiefs. I see another loss in your future here at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. But you do get a win against Denver to sort of stem the tide a bit, and that's going to allow you to snap that 4-game losing streak that you were on. You start a new streak of losing the following week, though, at Cleveland. They're a hungry young team that can get after the quarterback. Again, something that you don't want to see with the situation being what it is in Kansas City. You go to week number 10. You beat Arizona, though, at home, which allows you to get your 3rd win of the season. Again, not the best to start, but again, it's been tough sledding. Nice to get a win and get away from the losses that you have been incurring in the first half of the season. At the Chargers, another rough game. This one is actually in Mexico on a Monday night. Still not an easy task to go up against a team that can rush the quarterback. I see that being another loss. You go into your bye week in week 12 at 3-8. Ouch. And miss me with the Andy Reid doesn't lose. Remember, just 3 years ago, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs started off the season 0-5. Okay, so don't talk to me about Andy Reid can't lose fill in the blank games, because they were 0-5 and then they got hot and won 11 straight. That's not happening this year with a rookie quarterback. Well, I keep calling Patrick Mahomes a rookie or a young quarterback. For all intents and purposes, he's a rookie quarterback. Okay, the man didn't play any games last year until week 17 in mop-up duty versus the Denver Broncos. So you're going to take a huge step back with a young quarterback. And the first half of the season, first 12 weeks is indicative of that. You come off the bye, and it doesn't get much better for you. You lose the first 2 games out of the bye at Oakland and home for Baltimore, 2 teams that are very winnable games against, but I just don't see you getting those games at that point when your team is coming off a bye that late in the season at 3-8. How much are you really going to get out of those teams, out of your team? We'll see. Chargers on a Thursday night at the crib. I think you do fight against the family. You know, when it's family business, you can throw the records out the window, and I think that's what's going to happen here. At Seattle, that's a loss on a Sunday night. Yeah, ouch. I mean, I don't know if I've encountered a tougher road schedule than the one the Chiefs have in 2018. You play just about as bad of a road schedule, or as tough, I think is a better description, as brutal a road schedule as you could possibly have. I mean, all of the teams that generally take care of business at home in some tough environments, you've got them on your schedule on the road. You got no breaks in terms of a schedule here. And then home for Oakland in week 17, you are able to get that one to get your 5th and final win of the season. 5-11 for the Chiefs in 2018. That's real, folks. I don't feel any remorse for that 5-11. You get what you deserve. You run Alex Smith off, similar to the Bills. You run Tyrod Taylor off. You run a veteran that has done nothing for you but win, and you deserve what comes your way. And I feel strongly about this division and the Chiefs and the Raiders being bad football teams. I feel very strongly. There's one team in this division that I have being a bad football team that I think could actually be better than I'm giving them credit for. But that team is not the Kansas City Chiefs. I've got them being one of the worst teams in football this year. And they've done nothing in the preseason to alter my thought process. And I know it's the preseason, and I don't want to put too much stock into what I've seen, but they've looked god-awful at times this preseason, even when they're trying. And they've got so much talent that you find it hard to believe that they could do something like 5-11, but that's what I see in the future of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2018. Let's go on to the next team up, and it's the team that a lot of people think could win this division now, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. And honestly speaking, I think the Chargers may be the only good team in this division when it's all said and done. So and I hate putting all my eggs in the Chargers basket, because no team outside of the Miami Dolphins has let me down more times over the years than the Los Angeles Chargers, going back to their San Diego Charger days. So I almost feel like I'm being set up for the let up. And I almost feel like I shouldn't do this. But who else is going to win this division? So here we go. You got Kansas City week 1. That's at the crib. You should be able to take care of business there. I expect you to take care of business there. At Buffalo, they're a bad football team. Don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Don't care who the quarterback's going to be. The last time you saw Buffalo and a quarterback not named Tyrod Taylor, you went bonkers on the Buffalo Bills. I wouldn't be surprised if you did it again, frankly. So I've got you winning the first 2 games of the season. Then you go on the road to face another team in L.A. in the Los Angeles Rams. Have you taken an L there? Okay. But then you bounce back the following 2 weeks with wins versus San Francisco and Oakland. So 2 more Bay Area teams. You take care of business there to start the season off 4-1. But just as you thought shit was sweet, and you're getting excited and you're smelling yourself, you drop the final 2 games before your bye at Cleveland and home versus Tennessee, which is actually in London. So I've got you going into the bye week 4-3. So for as bad as some of the teams are in the division, you're not out of the woods yet because you're just 4-3. You're allowing these bad teams to hang around. Instead of putting them away, they're hanging in there because you're not taking care of business. You come off of the bye week and you go to Seattle. And normally, that's a loss. But this isn't the same Seattle Seahawks. This isn't your uncle's Seattle Seahawks. You can go into Seattle and steal one. And because you're able to get pressure on the quarterback and you've got a fast-flowing athletic defense, the kind that gives Russell Wilson fits, you'll go into Seattle and you'll win. And so that gets you to 5-3. You follow that up with another road game, this time in the division versus the Raiders. And if you're going to be serious about trying to make some noise, you'd like to think you should be able to sweep a team like the Raiders in 2018. But still family business, man. And the Raiders aren't having it. They take care of business at the crib. So you drop that game, drop to 5-4 on the season. Then you win the next 2 games. In the division versus Denver at home, and home again the following week versus Arizona. So that gets you to a respectable spot in the season where you start to distance yourself from the rest of the division. Now you're 7-4, and you look back in the rearview mirror, and everybody else is struggling. So you feel good, and now you start to play with confidence. Although that confidence doesn't get you a win at Pittsburgh in the following game, you follow that up with a big win at home versus Cincinnati, another good team in the AFC. The following week, you go on the road to Kansas City, and, the Chiefs haven't had many things go right their way this season, but it's still family business, and they find a way on Thursday night while everyone's watching to muster up enough to get a dub against the Chargers, which will be your final loss of the season, the regular season, that is, as you'll take care of business the following week versus Baltimore and at Denver to finish out the season at 10-6, 4-2 in the division, and comfortably winning the AFC West division. Not another team in sight to stop you. So, honestly, you're winning this division by default, but 10-6 isn't a bad record to win a division at. But there is zero competition stopping you from doing what you want to do in this division, and hence the Chargers are your AFC West champions in 2018. But we still got 2 more teams to get to. So let's get to the Raiders next. A team that I honestly believe they have no idea what the hell they're doing right now. None. John Gruden, I'm so disappointed in him because normally when a guy steps away for as long as John Gruden has, they haven't been in the spotlight. So you're not sure what they've been doing with their off time. You're not sure if they're in tune to what's going on in the league. So you can understand when a guy like Joe Gibbs comes back and he's been out of football for 12 years and he hasn't seen free agency and he hasn't seen a lot of things taking place. When he comes back, he's kind of shell-shocked. And you're like, man, the game may have passed him by. That's not the case with John Gruden. He was interviewing coaches every week. He was around football. He had the Fire Coaches of America facility set up. He was talking to these quarterbacks with the Gruden camp. He was entrenched in football. He saw the way the game was changing, and yet he came back and tried to turn the clock back to 1999. And he's trying to play Bucks ball. And he's trying to ground and pound. Bruh, that shit is dead. Dead, I tell you. And he's going back and getting as many Pro Bowlers from 2008 as he can possibly muster. Well, bruh, it's 2018, not 2008. You can't go get Derek Johnson. You can't go get Jordy Nelson, Doug Martin, Leon Hall. You can't go get all these dudes. They got 7 tight ends, 9 fullbacks, 8 running backs. You traded a guy that I thought could really help you at receiver in Ryan Switzer. I don't know what the hell's going on, honestly. How good is Martavis Bryant going to be anyway? I don't know. Stop asking. All I know is that I fully expect the Raiders to really be bad this year. Really bad. And I may be underestimating John Gruden, but I haven't liked one thing I've seen out of the Raiders this preseason. Derek Carr hasn't played nearly enough for me. It's as if they know something that we don't. He played 1 possession versus Detroit. He played 1 possession versus the Packers. He did not play at all versus the Rams. Obviously, you play them in week 1. You don't want to play your starters. I get it. They haven't looked that sharp to me. So, I'm lost. But we'll see. I could be wrong about the Raiders, and they could come out and win 8, 9 games, and I could have egg all over my face. But I don't see that being the case. I just don't. I don't think they're going to be a very good team this year. So, let's run through this quickly because I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the Raiders. Your best player on your team is holding out for a contract that right now it doesn't seem like he's going to get. What are you doing at cornerback? How good is Rashawn Melvin? Is Conley ever going to get healthy and play well? Like, what are we doing? You just cut a 2nd-round pick in Obi Melifonwu. I'm confused. Help me. Help me. I'm lost. I don't know where I am. Anyway, week 1, home for the Rams. Loss. Week 2, at Denver. Loss. Week 3, at Miami. Loss. Week 4, home for Cleveland. Win. Week 5, at the Chargers. Loss. Week 6, home for Seattle. Loss. Bye week. Loss. Now I'm playing. You're 1-5 at the bye week. You come out of the bye week. Home for Indy. Wouldn't it have been nice if you could have got some rusty Andrew? You get some prime, ready to go Andrew Luck. That's not lucky for you. Loss. Week number 9 at San Francisco, Thursday Night Football. Loss. Week 10, home for the Chargers. Win. Hey, how about that? Week 11 at Arizona. Loss. Week 12 at Baltimore. Loss. Week 13, home for Kansas City. Win. Week 14, home for Pittsburgh, Sunday Night Football. This is going to get flexed. Nobody wants to see the 3-10 Raiders or 3-9 Raiders taking on the Steelers. At that point will probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of, they might be 9-2 or 9-3 themselves. Nobody wants to see that. That's going to get flexed out of there. Either way, loss. At Cincinnati, loss. Week 16 versus Denver on Monday Night Football. They can't flex that one out. Win. Week 17 at Kansas City, loss. So, look, I said all of that to say this. Raiders are 4-12. They win 3 of their 4 games in the division. I just don't see this season being too positive for the Raiders. I just don't. I don't know what the hell John Gruden's doing. I've been asking for answers all offseason. Still haven't gotten any. What are the Raiders doing? Somebody tried to sell me on, hey, we trying to bring in veterans for this young locker room. Okay, whatever. But there's a cap that you put on how many veterans you bringing in. Like, you can't have the veterans taking over the whole goddamn locker room. So, I just, like I said, John Gruden, I'm baffled at what he's doing, and I just need answers. And the bad thing is that he's come in and he's overtaken Reggie McKenzie, and I can tell you right now, if Bruce Allen told John Gruden he was on his way to Oakland right now, Reggie McKenzie would be fired, because Reggie doesn't have any say-so in Oakland whatsoever. Players that he drafted, that he believed in, John Gruden is coming in and saying, oh, I don't want him, I don't want him, I don't want him. And oh, by the way, your best player isn't suiting up for you because you refuse to pay him. Where's the sense in that? I don't understand. Anyway, Broncos, final team in the division. They're not going to be very good either. So let's take a look at the Broncos. Week 1, home for the Seattle Seahawks, and they could win that game. I really feel like they can win the game, but I don't think they're going to win it, to be honest with you. I think that's a loss, but we'll see. I actually think the Broncos are going to be better than this. Is the only team in the division that I have given them a porous record, that I actually think their record could be much better than what it appears to be on paper. I just couldn't, much like the Arizona Cardinals, I couldn't give them the wins, but I think they'll win more games than I'm giving them credit for. So, versus Oakland week 2, got the Broncos winning that game. At Baltimore, got them losing that game. Home for Kansas City on Monday Night Football, got them winning that game. So they start the season off 2-2. At the Jets, they should win that game, but I put a loss down. So you can see how they could easily climb to 6-10, 7-9, 8-8, maybe even 9-7. Versus the Rams at home, I got them winning that game. They could easily lose that game. So you can see how it balances itself out. At Arizona on a Thursday night, that's a loss. At Kansas City the following week after that, that's a loss. Home for Houston, that's a win. So you go into the bye week, and with the Chargers tripping at that bye week, 4-5, you're right in contention for the division crown, okay? The Chargers haven't run away with anything at this point. They're only 5-4 on the season, so you're literally a game and a half out of first place. So you feel good about where you are at that point of the season in week 10. But then you come off the bye, and it's like you realize we're not very good. Similar to last year. Remember you started the season off 3-0 last year? 3-0, 2-1, something like that, 3-1, something like that. You were a really good team early, and then shit just got ugly. That's what's going to happen after the bye week. I got you losing your final 6 out of 7 games. You lose 4 straight coming out of the bye. At the Chargers, home for Pittsburgh, at Cincinnati, at San Francisco. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. Okay? 3 out of 4 on the road against good opponents. At the Chargers, home for Pittsburgh. So the one home game against a Super Bowl caliber team. At Cincinnati, at San Francisco. That is tough. I don't see you navigating your way through that stretch. If you could just get 1 or 2 of those, you feel a lot better about the situation. But I got you getting none of them. You do stop the bleeding versus Cleveland on a Saturday afternoon in Week 15 with a win. But then you lose at Oakland on Monday Night Football, and then you lose to the Chargers in Week 17 to wrap up your season. At that point, though, with the Chargers already having the division wrapped up by Week 2, they may not need Week 17's game, depending on the seeding. And when you're 10-6, I mean, how much can you really be moving around seeding-wise anyway? I mean, somebody else has got to have won 11 or 12 games. Obviously, we know the Steelers and the Patriots most likely are going to be your 1 and 2 seeds. The other division winners and things of that nature, they're probably going to have more than 10 wins. I would like to assume someone else is going to win 11. So what are the Chargers really playing for in Week 11? I don't know. You might be able to win that game too. Who's to say? But in any event, I said all that to say this. Broncos are 5-11 and 2-4 in the division. So I'm not buying what I just said about the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to end up being a little bit better than I gave them credit for, but we're going to see. They got Case Keenum at quarterback, and you know how I feel about Case Keenum. He's Case Keenum for a reason. So don't know if I can buy what Case Keenum is selling quite yet, even though I'm starting to come around on the fact that Case Keenum may be a little bit better than we all thought initially. He's still Case Keenum. So with that being said, I will open up the phone lines. You can call me up, tell me that I'm crazy, that this division isn't as bad as I think. You can tell me that the Raiders aren't going 4-12, or the Broncos aren't going 5-11, or the Chiefs aren't going 5-11, or that the Chargers aren't going to win this division, and this isn't going to be the way it is. So there you have it. Let's talk about this division. So I'll get to the comment section. And we'll take a look at what everybody has to say. And we'll get to these comments. I've got the phone, and so we're ready to rock and roll. All right, phone is ringing. I thought it would. I was waiting for it. I didn't want to start because I knew somebody was going to call in. So, here we go. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Lou, it's JP. How you doing, man?
What's going on, JP?
It's all good. I had a chance to listen to you go on that epic rant about the AFC West and how bad it's going to be other than the Chargers. Yeah, so I figured I'd chime in and talk a little bit about this division.
All right, so what do you think? What are your thoughts about the AFC West? Is it as bad as I think it's going to be, and who do you have making the postseason?
Oh, man, Lou. You know what? I don't think I'm going to be honest here. I don't think it's going to be as bad. I honestly think that, well, the Chargers, I think, are the hands-down favorite to win this division. Like you said, I don't know what Oakland is doing. I think Denver might be a little that pass with that orange crush of Chubb and Von Miller. But the Chiefs, I think they're going to have some growing pains at quarterback. You sent Alex Smith to Washington. You get rid of all. You don't know if Eric Berry's going to be 100%. You don't know if Justin Houston's going to be 100%. With the way that Chargers team is looking, with Phillip Rivers and that receiving core, they might bring Antonio Gates back after Hunter Henry went down. You got Melvin Gordon. You got that defense. You got that pass rush of Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. And you got a lot of depth on that team. I think they're the hands down favorite. I think the Chargers go 12-4. I got Denver. I got Denver being 10-6. Honestly, I think that defense is going to keep them in games. With that pass rush,
that's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah,
I got Oakland being. I think they're going to have growing pains with John Gruden. Khalil Mack ain't no way in hell Khalil Mack is getting that contract in Oakland. That's number one.
You might be
right.
I
think they're going to be 6-10.
Yep.
And I think the Chiefs are going to be 5-11, 4-12, and I think they're going to end up with like a top 10 draft pick. I think they might, maybe. I mean, I've heard a lot of reports about how bad Patrick Mahomes looks at practice. That he once threw 5 picks in a practice session or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, they added Sammy Watkins. I know you got Tyreek Hill. I know you got Kareem Hunt. You got Travis Kelce, but that Kansas City defense is trash. That's number one. Because
it looks like it's going to be really bad this year. I have zero confidence in their defense right now. Their offense is so good.
Yeah.
Potentially, we got to see how Patrick Mahomes is able to navigate that offense. But man, does that defense look bad? Yikes.
Yeah. I think Denver's going to sneak in. I think they make the playoffs in their last game of the season. They go 10-6. I think they steal out one of these wins. But man, I don't think that division isn't going to be as bad as you think. But I don't think Oakland and Kansas City are going to go through growing pains, especially with John Gruden, since he hasn't been working in the NFL for over 9 years.
Yeah, pretty much a decade. Yep.
I mean, yeah. Let me ask you this:
Sure.
Where do you think if the Raiders are working on a trade to send Khalil Mack somewhere, where do you think he end up? I've been hearing Green Bay's a possibility. I heard Chicago's a possibility. I heard the Jets are a possibility. I've heard like 5 or 6 or 10 teams that want to make trades, and I've heard that the Raiders have rejected a couple of trades, and I heard that the Redskins were one of the teams on that list. So I want to know your thoughts.
Okay, we can talk about that. Hey, I appreciate you chiming in, JP, man. That was a great call.
All right, thanks, Lou. Have a good night.
Hey, likewise. So let's talk about that.
All right.
If Khalil Mack were to be traded, where could he go? First of all, I'm hearing that the asking price is too steep. No one wants to part ways with 2 number ones. I told you, there's no way to get equal value for a star player. That being said, if you're going to trade a guy the caliber of Khalil Mack, which we haven't seen in quite some time, you don't trade guys like that in the prime of their career, going into their second contract, a guy that's been an all-pro multiple times in such a short period of time. You don't trade those kind of guys away. But if you do happen to trade a guy like that, you're at minimum going to get 2 ones. That's just the starting conversation. I'm not done yet. I want 2 ones and then some. So the Raiders are in a great position because they're like, we're not giving this guy away, right? We're not giving him away. You've got to give it. And if I'm a team like the Patriots, if I'm a team like the Green Bay Packers, I make that deal because I know my draft pick is going to be late first round. You can't get Khalil Mack at 30. You can't get Khalil Mack at 31, at 27. You know you're going to be somewhere in there if you're Green Bay, if you're New England. So you can make that deal all day long. So it wouldn't shock me if one of those teams stepped up to the plate. But if I'm the Oakland Raiders, I want that from the Bears, somebody that I think is going to be trash. Well, I'm like, yeah, let me get your first round pick because that could be a top 10 pick. I love to have that 2 years in a row. So we'll see. But got a call, so I'm going to take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
That's your boy Tones, man. Protect Sports. What's good?
What's going on, Tones? Make sure you speak up tonight, Tones. You was like you was mumble rapping last night,
man. My fault, man. Let's get it, man. AFC West football. Let's talk.
Talk to me about the AFC West. I think this division is straight trash can juice. Talk to me about this division. Is it as bad as I think it's going to be? And who's going to make the playoffs from this division?
Man, this division is trash.
Okay,
I
so
completely agree.
You agree.
It's trash. It's terrible. One team's coming out. Chargers. That's
okay.
it.
That's the way I see it.
One team. That's it.
What's the record you think the Chargers are going to be able to secure?
Give me 10-6 for the Chargers. I agree with what you said. The analysis of them, they're a really good football team. They're the best team talent-wise by far, even without Hunter Henry, without Jason Verrett. I don't care. They're the best team in the division by far. They're the most balanced team by far, offense, defense, special teams. They're literally the best team. They're up there, and everyone else is down the bottom looking stupid. Except for the Chiefs. I don't see 4-12, 5-11 for them. I can see them hovering around 500, 7-9, 8-8, somewhere around there.
Yeah. If Patrick Mahomes plays well, I could easily see them winning 8-9 games. The talent alone suggests that, but I feel like the defense might drag that team down. In addition to Mahomes turning it over because he's a rookie, I heard Andy Reid talk about how, you know, it was a shot at Alex Smith, too. We didn't miss that. If you're out here as a Redskins fan, we didn't miss Andy Reid throwing a little shot and a little shade Alex's way, talking about how he wants his quarterback to take shots and You know, you don't want him in there just checking it down all the time. We hear your jokes, man. We hear your jokes.
We hear his jokes. You want to sneak this on public airways, whatever. We don't care, Andy Reid. Your team's gonna suck, okay? Your secondary's trash. Your linebacking core is old as dirt, and y'all had no pass rush outside Justin Houston. Please call me back when you get that, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's why I think the Chiefs are going to struggle. It's not because of Mahomes. Mm-hmm. I think Mahomes will struggle early. I think he'll for a whole bunch of picks. I mean, early's going to be bad. They're like, what the hell? Why we do this? Mm-hmm. They'll be second-guessing themselves. If I think Mahomes will settle down, start playing better in the middle of the season, for the end of the season. But that defense is trash. That secondary is horrible. Outside Eric Berry, I can't name no one not named Kendall Fuller. I can't.
Well, you know one player in the secondary. I say you know one player because we traded him over there.
Yeah, I'm saying other than Kendall Fuller,
right.
I know no one else.
Yeah,
and he gonna get baptized by fire like the rest of them.
I watched them. I watched the Bears, and again, I hate to bring up the preseason, but it was the Bears' second team working these boys. They had no starters in the game. They were working the Chiefs' first team defense, and they just went away from Kendall Fuller the entire game. They just went away from him, and the other DBs had no answer, man, none. And one of them was David Amerson. I'm like, they gotta have somebody else. Like David Amerson can't be the answer opposite of Kendall Fuller, right?
I've been saying that all season. I've been saying that all offseason, Luke. I'm like, yo, if David Amerson and Kendall Fuller, your starting corners, you might have a long fucking season. I don't care. I don't care how good your pass rush is. I don't care. They might get baptized by fire, especially David Amerson. We know he's a former Redskin. He's trash. So we know this. Yeah. David Amerson is trash. They might get baptized by fire. If Eric Berry ain't healthy, oh my God, this can get bad in a hurry. Yeah. They gonna regret trading Marcus. They gonna regret trading Kansas City Thief, man. The former Kansas City Thief. Let me say that. The former Kansas City Thief. They gonna regret trading Marcus Peters. That was stupid. I don't care. Stupid. Don't care. The only that trade makes sense if they got a first round pick from him. It didn't, so it makes no sense. I don't care. It's stupid.
I know the Chiefs fans weren't happy about the deal, so I can say
hell no.
They didn't like that either.
Hell no. Even they recruit Kendall Fuller in that deal. I mean, in the deal before. No. As for the other two teams in the division, both of them going 4-12. I'm sorry, Broncos. Sorry, Broncos fans. No, I love your pass rush. That's the one thing I do love about the Broncos team. Their pass rush is mean. Chubb, Shane Ray, and Von Miller going to eat. They're going to eat. I give you that. But I don't trust Case Keenum. He had one good season.
Yeah,
he hasn't shown me any follow-up to it. I don't trust it. Emmanuel Sanders still look good.
Yep.
What's up with Demaryius Thomas? Mm-hmm. Can Cortland Sutton create separation in this league consistently? I don't know.
Right.
Can Royce Freeman be that running back they've been looking for?
Mm-hmm. He's looked good in the preseason.
Can he replace T.J. Anderson? He looked good in the preseason. Yep. I want to see the regular season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I like what I see from Royce Freeman, though. I like what I see from the Broncos, but I got to see it when the games count. And I just don't trust the Broncos right now. And their offensive line's kind of spotty, too. Other than Ron Lurie, their offensive line's kind of spotty. And with the Broncos and the Raiders, what in the hell is going on in Oakland, man?
I can't tell you, man. I can't call it.
They go pick up the 2008 All-Star team, like you said. he go pick up every pro from 08. You go trade for Martavis Bryant, a move I like, but he doesn't look good in camp. What's up with Martavis? I don't know. And like you said, the offense looks spotty as hell. They didn't play much when they play with Carl. So from what I see, you look horrible in the preseason. Mm-hmm. Where's Martavis Bryant? We have an APP out for him. Jordy, he ain't Air Jordy no more. So
nah, he damn sure. He
ain't Air Jordy no more. So the hell you paying him for?
Sure.
Doug Martin is literally a hamster with no legs.
Yeah.
He can't go no damn way.
Ain't no muscle hamster.
Marshawn, an old man. What the hell are y'all doing?
I don't know. Hey, look, if they don't bludgeon people to death with the run game, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do.
What the hell? If you draft Colton Miller, who was kind of like a project to me. Where the hell, you said, where's Darion Conley at? Where is he?
Every time I turn around, the man is hurt. I can't. I don't know what's going on with him. They need him though.
Yeah, and what's up with the U? Why you took the UConn kid for?
Yeah, they ended that experiment.
And don't start to call Lil Max stuff, please. I'm not going to start with that. I'm not getting into that. Jay Groover has spoken crack over this offseason. I'm going to need him to get drug tested because he lost his fucking mind. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him, but he needs to get his ass together. But this team is supposed to look horrible. I got him 4-12, and I'm being nice. They might go 2-14. This team could be bad. Really bad. Epically bad. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him.
Hey, Toes, man. Chill, bro. Chill.
Bro, this team makes no sense to me, bro. Like, oh my God. Like, their logic. Like,
we don't know, man. We all been lost as to what the hell they've been doing.
Bro. I give up, bro.
Me too. I'm gonna just watch. I'm gonna just watch. You know how we all love watching car wrecks, like, and it's not good. You know, the end result is never positive, but you can't look away. This is a car wreck that I'm just like,
oh my God. And to think 2 seasons ago they were 12-4.
I know, right? If Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, they have a legit shot. It's crazy, man.
It is a legit shot to play the Patriots and actually get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And now look at them.
I
They
know.
might be 2-14. They might be 2013 Redskins with all these damn controversies and a whole bunch of hoopla in the damn media and shit. It's about to be bad. It's about to be bad. It's about to be bad.
Hey, Tones, man, I appreciate you, bruh. As always, man. Have a good one, man.
And one more thing, though.
Yep.
I hope to God that John Gruden keep doing this dumb crap. They fire Reggie McKenzie. We can go fire our de facto GM and go get Reggie McKenzie. Can you please do that? I appreciate it, Oakland. Donate your GM over there. We would love to have it. Thank you. That's it.
Appreciate you, Toes.
No problem,
Be
man.
easy, man. All right, so Tones, much like myself, thinks this division is going to be horrid. I feel bad, too, because I think the division is going to be bad, but I think the Broncos, like he said, the Broncos got a shot. We'll see. Or like the previous caller said, my man JP said, the Broncos might actually be able to win some games on defense. And I think the offense might actually be better than I'm giving them credit for. So, and the same thing can be said for the Chiefs. You know, even though I'm not high on the Chiefs because their defense scares the bejesus out of me, they've got so much talent on offense. So much talent on offense. It's hard to imagine them being 5-11, which is what I have them pegged as. Their offense should be good for at least 6 by themselves, you would think, but we'll see. You're on live with your man Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
It's your boy Nick.
Nick at Night. What's going on, man?
Oh, before I say anything, and that boy Tones upgraded from the flea market service. His phone jumped up real quick.
I was trying to be subtle when I was like, "Hey, Tones, we can't have that tonight, man."
Yeah, that was bad. But the Raiders are a mess. So my sister's a Raiders fan. I swear to God,
I feel bad for your sister, man.
They like the old folks home, bro. They signed everybody.
Everybody.
Tell them pass the run. You got and not even like the Doug Martin one. Sure, he's on a 1-year deal, but why the hell is you signing Jordy Nelson to a 2-year deal for like what they give him $14.7 million or something like that?
It was something in that neighborhood.
I was like, what the hell are you doing? He ain't gonna do shit. And then you got Amari Cooper, who I always loved Amari Cooper, but this man can't catch the damn ball, bro. He drops too many passes.
Yeah, he
And
does.
then I'm thinking about, remember one of their starting linebackers is Emmanuel Lamar. This dude used to play the team, and he was like a 3rd-string linebacker. He played special teams for us. This man's a starter.
Yeah, I think they also got Tahir Whitehead. I think it was them that got Tahir
And then
Whitehead.
whatchamacallit, they got from friggin' the Chiefs, the linebacker that was on the Chiefs for the
Derek
longest.
Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, he was nice for the Chiefs, but I understand why the Chiefs moved on him because he was old as hell. And of course, where did he go? He go over to the old Hulk home with the rest of them.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, that team's a mess, bro. They're gonna win like 5 games, bro. At tops.
Yeah, I think they just signed like Frosty Rucker or somebody, some old ass defensive line. I was like, God, this is ridiculous.
They're really pissing me off with that Cleo Mack shit though. Like, how you invest all this money into these old ass motherfuckers, but you can't pay this man.
Well, see, where they messed up at was they just over-invested in the offensive line. Like, they spent a ton of money on their interior offensive line.
And a lot of them is old as hell, too.
You know, Rodney Hudson got a big payday. Kelechi Osemele got a huge payday. And I think they just spent some money on Austin Howard, too. And I'm like, really? Austin Howard? What are you doing? So they tied up a bunch of money on the interior. And then they just paid Gabe Jackson, too. They had to pay Gabe.
I thought when John Gruden was going in there, I thought he was about to bounce him back, and he was done. Like, to me, he put him back in a bigger hole than they already are. Yeah,
well, that's what I was trying to tell my man Reed, because Reed is a Bucks fan, and he was dying to get Gruden back. He's like, man, I hope Gruden comes back. And I'm like, bruh, the one thing I can tell you about John Gruden, I'm like, John Gruden always leaves a franchise old and decrepit, older than what they were when he got there, because he trusts veteran players. He does not trust young players. He's always been one to lean on veterans. So that's when you get the Tim Browns. Remember Tim Brown and Jerry Rice and all those dudes were in Oakland when he left? They went to Tampa, left their ass old and dirty. You know, they did go to the Super Bowl, but they were old as hell when he left. Charlie Garner, all them, Rich Gannon, all of them motherfuckers was like 40 when he left. And that's what John Gruden does. He likes his veterans. So
you know that reminds me of like when the Vikings traded to get Herschel Walker. That trade was god awful.
Yeah, you set the Cowboys up for some years.
Well, we screwed ourselves hard body in that one.
So, all right. So, what are your predictions for the division? You said you got the Chargers winning the division. What's at what record?
I got them 10-6. I'm not I don't think their linebackers. I like some of their linebackers, but I don't think like their whole core is good. Like obviously Ingram is good. I'm not too much of a fan of the rest of the linebackers for it. And I think like I wanted to give them a couple, like one more or two more wins, but I think like even though they got a good secondary, like honestly Casey Hayward, one of the best corners in the league, he's hella underrated. A lot of people sleep on him. And so I don't know how in the hell they got Derwin James in the draft early. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it was a crazy draft. People would sleep behind the wheel. That's how that happened.
He was one of my favorite players in the draft.
Yeah, people were sleeping behind the wheel.
I think one thing that might hurt them though, even though the rest of their secondary is still solid, that's how they lost Jason Verrett for the season. That made
that sucks, man. But from what I heard from Chargers fans, they other corner, he was playing his ass off last year, so they feel good about him too. I forgot his name, but they said he was really good.
A lot of people, I don't know why, but they even though he got injury history too, I think Mike Williams is about to ball out.
I do too. I think he about to have a big year. I do too.
He was nasty in college.
I got high hopes for him this year.
I think then I got the Chiefs at 9-7.
Okay.
But I do think Mahomes could end up leading the league in interceptions though, because like he's young, he's got Tyreek Hill out there. He's gonna air it out a lot. He's gonna force some bad throws.
I believe that to be the case. That's why. That's part of the reason I think they're gonna lose some games.
I've seen it a lot in preseason already. He was doing it.
And then you got let's see, you got the Raiders at 7 and you got them at 5-11.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you got the Broncos?
8-8. And people keep talking about this man Case Keenum is nice. I'm telling you right now, this man Case Keenum is not nice, bro. Like, I understand. I respect him for taking us to the NFC Championship game. This man laid an egg. Not saying the rest of the team didn't too, because the whole team was trash. Probably Harrison Smith's worst game of his career, but I'm saying like. What people don't understand is Diggs and Thielen were both top 5 in contested catches. So a lot of times this man was just throwing it up there, and they was just getting it for him. Like, it wasn't him necessarily doing all the work.
Hey, look, I ain't going to take nothing away from Case Keenum, but he's still Case Keenum. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying. And that was the first time in his career he, like, at least threw for 3,500 yards. He never threw for anywhere close to that before.
Right.
And now I'm going to Denver. He ain't got better receivers than he had with us. So what makes them think he's going to be better?
Hey, they got some good receivers now. Don't sleep on their receivers.
I'm not. I'm just saying they ain't better.
The collection of group of the dudes they got might be better. Because after your 1 and 2, who else you got at receiver?
We're not talking about number 3. I don't talk about him.
Okay, that's what I thought. So they could go 3 deep. you know, with Sutton, they like him a lot. And from what I've seen in the preseason, he looks damn good.
Yeah, I liked him coming out of SMU. I thought he was pretty nice.
So we'll see. But, yeah, man, I feel you, Nick, man. I think that the Chargers win the division. I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos or the Chiefs were better than I gave them credit for. I just think the Raiders are going to be terrible.
Another thing about the Chiefs, why they're going to step back is like their defense was at the top of the league, and like they were I think they were number 3
in takeaways.
They about to lose out a lot on them takeaways, especially because of Marcus Peters by himself.
Yeah, he was a turnover. Now he gave up big plays because, as we talked about earlier, he's a feast or famine corner, but he made a ton of plays for them, man. I mean, just remember the game that pretty much won him the division last year was that Chargers game, that second one. I mean, how many picks did he have in that game, man? I mean, he single-handedly destroyed Phillip Rivers and the Chargers in that game.
I'm pretty sure he had like 3.
It was something like that. I know he had 2 for sure. Could have had 3. In any event, that's what he brings to the table. They're going to miss that. And he was a guy that would rip the ball out, poke it out, force fumbles, that kind of thing. He just always made plays, man.
Yep. Like Tone said, though, outside of Kendall Fuller and Eric Berry, the rest of that secondary is trash.
It is. It's really bad.
That shit is bad.
It's really bad. So, yeah, man. Hey, appreciate you, Nick. As always, man. Holding me down, holding the show down, and chiming in.
I got you, bro.
Hey, good luck, man.
Peace, bro.
Appreciate you. All right. So, let's go down the list. Matthew Lynch has the Chargers at 10-6, Broncos at 9-7, Chiefs at 7-9, Raiders at 4-12. So right now, no one has had anyone other than the Chargers winning the division. Emperor Meach has the Chargers at 10-6, Broncos at 9-7, Raiders at 7-9, Chiefs at 6-10. So he's got the division being a little bit tighter, a lot tighter. Let me not mince words. A lot tighter than I do. My man Nick and Knight just told you what he thinks of the division. Nick also said, man, I was saying the same thing about the Raiders. They made some moves, but just about every one of them is past their prime. FBG Tony has already given us his thoughts via the phone line. J Camman 99 says, I have Chargers in first, Chiefs in last, Broncos in second, Raiders in third. I think Gruden will be gone in 2 years, and Patrick Mahomes is going to have similar accuracy issues to Josh Allen. I like Patrick Mahomes a lot. I just think he's going to have to go through the growing pains of being a young quarterback in this league. And he's one of those guys that suffers from the inability to know when to say when. He thinks that every play is a big play, and he's going to run around and try to make something happen. And he's one of those guys that will run around in circles. He's one of those guys that will run backwards 15 yards and try to make a play. And generally, you get yourself into trouble in this league. Unlike in college at Texas Tech, where you can run backwards 15 yards and then launch it and have a guy go up and climb the ladder and make a play. It's the NFL. You'd run backwards 15 yards if you like. Someone's going to come out of your peripheral that you don't see and step in front of that offering and pick it off. And so I can see Mahomes making some mistakes that he'll learn from and be better because of it down the road. But in the meantime, they're going to suffer because of some of those mistakes. As far as Gruden being gone in 2 years, not after you sign a 10-year contract, you're not gone in 2 years. He's going to have to fail epically for the first 4 years of that deal for them to say, all right, enough's enough. He's not going anywhere, I don't think. Nick also says, no doubt about it. Patrick Mahomes has a cannon of an arm, but with a big arm and a young QB, he's going to force a lot of throws down the field to Hill. Going to put up a lot of INTs. I think that is going to be some of those interceptions as well, for sure, where he just says, hey, I'm going to give my man a chance, and he's going to throw in a double coverage, and the safety is going to be well over the top, and it's going to be like a punt. I watched Deshaun Watson do that in a preseason game where he was under duress, young quarterback trying to make something happen, launches it like 60 yards down the field right to the safety who's waiting for it like a punt. J. Camman says, I think the Chiefs will be 4-12, so mostly we agree on them. Hard to believe Andy Reid will be that bad, but I think he will. I think they're going to suffer for running Alex Smith out of town. And like I said, I think eventually they'll be better because of it. But right now they're going to suffer in the meantime. FBG Tony says, Damn, 11-5. What the F, bro? I think the Chiefs can at least win 7 games. Their secondary outside of Eric Berry is trash. Their defense in general is inconsistent, to be nice. That offense, though, yeah, I know. They've got weaponry all over the place, and it's all dynamic. It's all explosive. It's all game-changing. Back, tight end, receivers, all of them can change the game with one touch. And so that's what makes me think that the Chiefs could be much better than 5-11. But then I look at that defense, and I'm like, maybe 5-11 isn't that bad. So Blackbird Blitz says, the moment you think your team is trash, and Louie Tee confirms it. Hey, they never agree with me on this stuff, man. They always get mad and be like, man, this dude don't know what he's talking about. They rarely do. And again, like, for instance, Sean Mack, my man Sean Mack, and if you haven't already done so, check my man Sean Mack out. Check his YouTube channel out. Like his video. Subscribe to his channel. He just put out his divisional records for all the teams. And he had my Redskins going 4-12. And I'm like, really, bro? 4-12? But, I mean, if that's what you see, that's what you see. You know what I mean? Ain't no way Alex Smith going 4-12. And you could argue our defense might stink this year, too. But I don't think we're going 4-12. But then again, I'm pretty sure Chiefs fans don't think they're going 5-11. So, you know, I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't already know. Double A says, my prediction, Denver 10-6, Chargers 9-7, Chiefs 7-9, Raiders 3-13 with the second overall pick with that 3-13 record. I could see a situation where, you know, Denver is much better than we think, because I look at their team with E-Man Sand and Double 8, and now they got the rookie Cortland Sutton out of SMU, and so you've got a nice little three-headed monster at receiver. I think that they have really hit it big with their C.J. Anderson replacement. I really think that Freeman is going to be really good for them. And I think Devontae Booker now has a fire lit under his ass because of seeing what Freeman has come in and done. He's playing better, and he looks good this preseason. So I like what they have out of the backfield now. And then you start looking at their tight ends. They got Jake Butt, who I thought was going to be really good, and he ended up tearing his ACL in his final collegiate game. So he's back now. They also have Jeff Hireman, a guy that they really like at the tight end position as well. So if these athletic white boys can get it going at the tight end position, all of a sudden you got stuff at tight end now too that you've been pretty much sitting on all this time. I don't know if Virgil Green is still there at tight end, but I know about Jake Butt and Jeff Hireman. So they got some stuff, man. Now, the only thing I worry about is their offensive line. You know, if their offensive line can't stay healthy and they're shuffling around parts, Denver could be in some trouble because, you know, you don't want Case Keenum under duress. But like I told you last year, when Case Keenum was under duress, he made some things happen, man. So he's not opposed to, you know, being in adverse situations and coming out the other side, you know, smelling like roses, man. He made some plays for the Vikings last year in some tough situations where he had to dodge 2 defenders just to get the football off. So he's fully capable, man. I don't want to count him out. J. Cam Man says Gruden was fired from the Bucs for a reason. The fact is he wasn't doing a good job at the end. He had too many QBs in camp. You know, he loves his quarterbacks. He loves his quarterbacks. And a lot of them are veterans. You know, Jeff Garcia's and all those kind of guys. Rob Johnson. You know, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, he was doing when he was in Tampa, man. So, anyway, J. Cam Man also says, if you watch ESPN during the drafts, Gruden analysis was often very wrong. He made Kuiper look too smart. Well, you know, when you're doing something like that, you don't want to make the young guys look bad. You know, they're trying to get, you know, into the league, and you don't want to put out a negative perception of those players on a national, because then other quarterbacks in the future wouldn't want to do it. So he had to be pretty much tossing up softballs and had to hit them with kid gloves. You don't want to, you don't want to have one of these guys be embarrassed, you know, by having them up there and putting them on the spot. Obviously, if those guys agreed, he probably pretty much told them what he was going to do so they would be able to respond well to it because, again, you don't want to make guys look bad. J. Cam Man also says Gruden has crazy ideas about people he brings in. They're his people, you know. The worst part is Jason Witten is good at Monday Night Football. He can't go back. We'll see about Jason Witten. I still have my doubts about him, but I think he'll grow into the position. If John Gruden wanted to go back to ESPN, trust me, they would make a spot for him in a hurry. FBG Tony says, I'm changing my Raiders record to 4-12, tied for last, LOL, only because Khalil Mack will play 6 games this season. All right. J-Cam and let's see. Jared Rodriguez says, which rookie will make the biggest impact on the league from this division? Let's think about it. Let's see. Chiefs didn't have a first-round pick. Breland Speaks was their second-rounder. Raiders drafted Colton Miller in the first round and Brandon Parker in the second, which I thought was a little bit too early for him. Broncos drafted Sutton in the second, Chubb in the first, and the Chargers drafted, obviously, Derwin James in the first. And who was their second-round pick? Uchenna Nwosu was their second-round pick out of USC. So, of that group, because I think it's going to come out of the first 2 rounds, most likely. Obviously, Chubb is the easy answer. Derwin James is another viable option. I think a guy that's going to touch it a ton for the Denver Broncos will be the X factor, and I'm going with the running back out of Oregon. I think he is going to be the biggest difference maker out of this group because I think he's going to touch it a ton. And I think Freeman has a chance to really be a game changer for the Denver Broncos, and they like to run the football. And they've got a coach that I think wants to run the football, and I think Freeman is going to be a guy that's going to allow them to do exactly that. So I'll go with Freeman. I think Derwin James and Chubb will be right there nipping at his heels, but he's going to touch the ball more than Chubb or Derwin James, and he'll have a greater chance to impact the game. So I'll go with Freeman of the Denver Broncos. Deshaun Drakeford says, Kansas City going to lose to the Steelers in the AFC divisional round of the playoffs. So he's got Kansas City being a much better football team than any of us do, for the most part, I should say. I don't want to speak for anybody else. Emperor Meach says, Case Keenum needs to thank Pat Shermer for making him look good in Minnesota and getting him paid. He'll thank anybody he needs to thank for the 2-year, what was it, $32 million deal he got, whatever it was. He'll thank whoever he needs to thank for that deal that he got in Denver, for sure. Emperor Meach also says, calling it now, Mahomes will lead the league in interceptions. I could see that being the case. I could definitely see that being the case. I think somebody else will beat him out for that lead. But with young boys that come in, like I told you, for as good as Deshaun Watson was last year, everybody always wants to talk about all the touchdown passes. The man was throwing picks too, okay? With young quarterbacks, you're going to get mistakes. It's just a part of the game, all right? It's just a part of what comes with having a young quarterback. The mistakes are a part of the deal as well. So I could see it happening. FBG Tony says, I meant the Chiefs, Nate. They got to outscore everybody. It might be the case. Deshaun Drakeford says, even though you were upset about the draft, Derwin James is going to have a great season. I think he will have a great season. I was upset about the Redskins passing on him and Tremaine Edmonds, but I think Derwin James landed in a great spot for his talents, and they needed a safety. They got 2 in that draft, and they converted 1 to linebacker, and I think he's going to be a stud for them. So Emperor Meat says, Packers flip both their picks and get a pass rusher to help their young secondary. That would be a great move by the Packers. But again, if you're the Raiders, I don't want the Packers' first-round pick. You give them Khalil Mack, and the Packers are going 12-4, 13-3. I don't want your 31st overall pick. I don't want your 28th overall pick. Okay? I want my pick to be top 15. Okay? I don't want the 24th pick in the draft. That's what happens if you trade Khalil Mack to a good team. You're going to get back a back end of the first round pick 2 years straight. I'd much rather take my chances trading him to a team like the Bears or some other team that's offering me 2 first round picks that I know is going to be in the top 10 at least this year. You can't project 2 years out, but this year. So we'll see. Angry Birds of Chaos says, off-topic question, but who's your Mount Rushmore of rappers? Yes, that's super duper off-topic. You'll have to come back a different time for that. Just know that Big is on my Mount Rushmore of rappers, but that's another discussion for another day. Your boss says, my Raiders about to win the division. Our team is ready, and Carr looks like an MVP again. We're better than y'all think. We'll see, man. I don't know how you can tell that Derek Carr looks ready to be an MVP again when the man's played a full 2 possessions in the preseason and only had 1 big completion to Amari Cooper, who I was actually proud of him for climbing the ladder and going up and getting the football on that 1 play. But I don't know how you can make that assertion that he's back to MVP status. We haven't even seen him in the preseason, really. FBG Tony says, Derwin James was a steal. Absolutely he was. FBG Tony says, Nick funny as shit, bro. LOL. Bro, he's so real, though. Case Keenum is not nice, bro. Double A says, the Grim Reaper may visit all teams, but he lives in the Chargers locker room. He says, Case is solid at the very least. He's a huge upgrade to what the Broncos trotted out last year. I agree with that as well. Nick says, LOL, Lou tried to do me dirty talking about our number 3 receiver. We don't mention Treadwell bum ass over here. I brought it up to see if I could bait you into talking about your 3rd receiver. You would have none of it. Double A says, Chiefs O will keep them around 500. Oakland is a dumpster fire, period. JP says, why the hell are the Raiders signing old prehistoric dinosaurs like Derek Johnson, Jordy Nelson, and Doug Martin? Because that's what John Gruden is comfortable with. He's comfortable with guys that he thinks he can trust to get the job done. He doesn't want a bunch of youngins running around, breath smelling like Similac, wet behind the ears. He wants the old, wily, cagey veterans to show the young boys how to do it. But the problem is this is football, and it's no country for old men. And when you got too many of those boys on the field, you run into some serious problems. John Perez also says, do you think Bradley Chubb should be a defensive rookie of the year favorite, even though he has some flaws in his game? You've got to think he's got a shot to be a defensive rookie of the year because he's playing on the same defensive line with Von Miller. And because of the attention Von Miller will attract, that should give Chubb a bunch of one-on-one matchups, a ton of them, more than he can stand. He will see more one-on-one matchups in his first year than he probably saw all 3 years combined at NC State. So, or was it 4 years? He might have stayed all 4 years. Either way, he's going to see a ton of single matchups. He's got to win them. Nick Riley says, man, you already know I love me some Jake Butt, bro. The Michigan homie, I was high as hell on him. Man is always open. I think he's going to eat in Denver. Simple as that. If he's healthy, and I've seen him in the preseason, he looks good, I think he's going to eat for them. And with all the talent they have around him, he should be able to work the middle of the field, no problems. John Perez also says, is this the last we see of Paxton Lynch in Denver? I was so high on him when he got drafted. Boy, was I wrong. I feel bad that he's getting booed by the fans. Yeah, he's done. I think they're going to carry 2 quarterbacks in Denver, and he won't be one of them. Chad Kelly has already superseded him on the depth chart, and I think Paxton Lynch, he might get one more shot somewhere else. Generally, when you're a first-round pick, you get your first team, and then you get one more chance somewhere else. If it doesn't work there, then he's done. Nick Riley says, oh, man. Nick Riley says, the one thing I will give Case Keenum is that We will miss his ability to extend plays with his legs, which is what we talked about the other day. You're not getting that out of Kirk Cousins. Emperor Meat says, still trying to figure out how the hell Gruden got a 10-year, $100 million contract, but they looking at Khalil sideways talking about they broke. That's part of the reason why they broke. They've done so many dumb things as a collective group with their money. They've been saving up for this moment, and then when it came, they was like, damn, we didn't realize. Just 2 years ago, the Raiders had the most cap space of any team in the league, and then they just thought it was cool to just start dishing out money to all of these damn interior offensive linemen. They had to pay Gabe Jackson. I didn't have a problem with that. But why are you going out and getting Rodney Hudson and Kelechi Osemele? One or the other. You don't need both. All right? You can find a guard. The Panthers found Andrew Norwell as an undrafted pick. You can find late-round guards and centers and have them be really productive football players for you. You don't have to go out and get somebody else's high-priced item as a guard or a center in this league. If you want one, that's fine. You don't need three. They spent money on 3 of them. Gabe Jackson was homegrown product. Take care of yours. They did that. You don't need Kelechi and Rodney Hudson. You don't need to go spend money on Austin Howard. What are you doing with all your bread, man? You spending it in all the wrong ways. So you look up, you got to pay Derek Carr, so they did. And now you're looking around and you're saying, damn, we just gave John Gruden this stupid deal. Where the hell all our money go? I can tell you where your money went. They remind me so much of a dude that just got his income tax and had all this shit he wanted to buy all year long but was broke. Finally got his income tax check. It was like, yo, I'm about to ball out. About to go get me these new pair of J's. I'm about to go get me this new chain. I'm about to go get all of this stupid, frivolous shit that you don't need. Instead of saving your damn money, you spending it. You about to go to the strip club, make it rain. You doing all this dumb shit. Then you look up and you say, damn, I just got an $8,000 tax check and I only got $500 left. Where the hell did my money go? I can tell you where your shit went. You spent it on a whole bunch of dumb shit. Well, that's what the Raiders are doing right now. And so they spend all their money on stuff that they didn't have to have. There's a difference between need and want. They wanted some stuff. They went out and bought it. Now they need to sign Khalil Mack. And Khalil Mack is looking for his money, and it's not there. It's a shame. JP says, I honestly have no idea why they gave John Gruden a 10-year deal along with partial ownership of the team. That's way too much control. Look, man, I don't think the ownership thing was legit, but I do know this much. They knew they had to come hard, pause, and they had to come with a very lucrative offer because they weren't the only team that wanted him. And in order to entice him from that ESPN booth, they were going to have to give him an inordinate amount of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Guarantee. Because as a coach, you move your family out there, you put yourself in this position, you bring all these coaches on staff, you want to make sure that they're going to have jobs for the foreseeable future. Being that he was a fired coach, and he's talked about this a number of times, it sucks getting fired, which is why he came up with the Fired Coaches of America Association. And he's talked candidly about being fired and how bad he hated that. So in order to make sure that you're not going to fire me, you're going to sign me to this 10-year deal. I'm not going nowhere no time soon. Angry Birds of Chaos says, the NFC keeps making me mad almost every year. Past 3 NFC championship games, all blowouts. Vikings, Eagles, Packers, Falcons, Cardinals, Panthers. Yeah. That's why it pays to get home field advantage throughout. Those 3 games right there show you the importance of having home field advantage. Because in every case except the Cardinals-Panthers game, I didn't think that the distance between the 2 teams was that great. You know, the Packers were just riding the wave in the back of Aaron Rodgers that year, and the Falcons were just hot. Hot knife through butter. They cut through those boys like it was nothing. They ain't had no defense, though. But, yeah. Emperor Meat says, Khalil Mack about to be like Craig on Friday when he slammed the door and was like, y'all ain't never got no money. John Perez says, Chiefs will likely resort to outscore everybody since the defense stinks. Also see a top 10 draft pick this season for them. We'll see what happens with them. Slip Ammo says, Andy Reid will re-sign Mahomes, will rein Mahomes in, excuse me. He says, Andy Reid will rein Mahomes in. McNabb was not a downfield guy, neither was Smith. But you can't change this tiger's stripes. You can't change this leopard spots. Patrick Mahomes is a gunslinger. You can't. It's one thing to take Alex Smith, who was never a gunslinger. It wasn't in his DNA. Donovan McNabb, who was never a gunslinger. It wasn't in his DNA. You can take those guys and reel them in. That's fine. Patrick Mahomes has Jay Cutler in his DNA. He's got a big arm, and he thinks he can fit the football in just about every window there is. Now, Andy Reid is probably beating it into his head, hey, don't turn it over, don't turn it over, don't turn it over. But when the heat of the battle hits and you're running around and you see red flash across your peripheral and you say, oh, I can get it to him, and you don't see that defender outside of your visual that's coming over that in college wouldn't get there in time, you're going to try to zing it in there. You're going to make mistakes. JP says, Chargers need to fire their strength and medical staff because of these stupid-ass injuries. By the way, how in the hell did Hunter Henry get hurt? And should they bring back Antonio Gates? OG85 will be back. He just didn't want any part of training camp. So I think they're going to come to an agreement, and he's going to play in 2018. And Hunter Henry in the off-season workouts towards ACL. So, yeah, that happened. Nick Rowdy says, man, please tell these clowns that Xavier Rhodes is a top 5 cornerback in the league. Xavier Rhodes is a top 5 cornerback in the league. That's a fact. I love that matchup between he and Michael Thomas in the NFC championship or divisional round. Man, was that fun to watch. That was really a lot of fun to watch. But in any event, I've got no heat on Twitter. I've got no more comments. I've got no more calls. And thus, that wraps up this series as we wrap up the AFC West. Quickly to recap, a lot of you think that the Chargers are going to win this division, as do I. I, on one hand, think that this division is going to be terrible. You guys, not so much. You think the Chiefs are going to be better, Broncos are going to be better, but we all are pretty much in agreement that the Raiders aren't going to be a good team this season. We don't really know what the hell they're doing. We will be as wrong collectively as a group as we've ever been on this channel if the Raiders are good this year, because nobody, and I mean nobody, thinks the Raiders are going to be good, and I am leading the charge with the pitchfork and the torch for this Raiders season. I think they're going to be trash, and so we're going to see what happens with the Raiders, man. I think they're going to be trash as hell this year, and I think a lot of it, all of the blame will be put squarely on the shoulders of John Gruden coming in and just doing whatever the hell he wants to do with this roster, which he was given autonomy to do when they signed him to a 10-year deal. They essentially said, do whatever the hell you want with our franchise. We really don't give a damn. So that's going to do it for me, Louie Tee, here on this breakdown. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network if you haven't already done so, share the video, and make sure that you continue to support the movement. A lot of videos coming tomorrow. Survivor pool video, weekly pool video, winners and loser video, also fantasy football video, all coming your way tomorrow. So stay tuned. Be ready to pounce on those different opportunities coming your way. Thank you guys for supporting me throughout this series. You guys made it so much fun to come up here the last couple of weeks doing these divisional breakdowns, and you guys chiming in with your opinions. This season is going to be so much fun. It seems like it's taken so long to get here, but we're finally approaching. College football starts tomorrow. Hey, how about that? Celebrate! It's football time, goddammit. College football starts tomorrow. NFL the week thereafter. Boy, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I can't wait. Celebrate. So, in any event, I'm your man, Louie Tee, signing off. Thank you for joining me. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. Don't forget, check out the website, LouieTNetwork.net, for all of this great content, for all of the different things we'll be doing throughout the course of the season. Make sure you also check out the Louie Tee Network podcast, available on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Music Play, and on the website, LouieTNetwork.net. I'm your man, Louie Tee, signing off. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
Louie Tee Network.